Hey, gang. I don't know about you, but I had a crazy good day. It was crazy and it was good, but it was still crazy because nothing is normal. It's all different and it's all new. But what's cool about that, we have to think about life differently. We have to look at things differently. And sometimes that's super cool because we get new ideas and new inspiration to do great things. That's a little esoteric. You can look that word up in the dictionary. Anyway, last night we learned a word, loyalty. Can you say loyalty? Very good. Now, who remembers what loyalty is? Very good. Loyalty is serving others even when it's difficult. That's when you show your true loyalty. Now, difficult can also be times of need. When someone's in need, and you know what? If you look around us, there are some people who have a lot of needs right now. Like your mom and dad, especially if you're home doing school at home, they have a lot of extra needs right now. Some of your moms and dads are working at home, so that's tricky. And some of your mom and dads are working at the office still, and that's tricky because you're at home and you're doing school. So many things are changing, and it's cool and it's fun, but it's different. So in times of need, we have to be extra thoughtful because times of need often come when we least expect it. No one expected to be doing school at home. That's kind of crazy, but it's kind of fun too, huh? Like today, I was in shorts all day long. So when I wanted to go out and ride a bike, I did. Came back and got back to work. When I wanted to go for a walk, just threw on my tennis shoes, went right for a walk and came back to work. So I can't do that usually, but because of this crazy time, it was fun to do. It reminds me of someone, actually two someones, who were just serving, doing what they always did, and then their life went whoop, topsy-turvy. One, and you might know this person, her name was Esther. The other was Mordecai. Esther was a young girl, and she was just doing her thing. She was just growing up, learning to cook and clean and learning to take care of the house and learning how to read and write and all the things you do when you're growing up. And all of a sudden, the king needed a new wife. And so he gathered all these young ladies to think about who his wife could be. Well, of all the young ladies, he picked Esther. And Esther became queen because the Bible says Esther was beautiful. But she wasn't just beautiful on the outside, she was beautiful on the inside. And that made her even more beautiful. Imagine that. So, Esther married the king, and now she's Queen Esther. And her uncle was a man in the city. Well, her uncle Mordecai was just a great guy. And he just did his job, and he helped people. He helped people who were in need, helped people who weren't in need. And he just liked to reach out. Well, one day, he was walking along, and he heard two men talking about a plot to take out the king. They were going to try to take over the kingdom. Well, Mordecai went to the king's palace, and he told the servant that you need to tell the king that these two men are trying to do something bad to him. So he needs to be aware of it so he can be ready and take care of them. Well, the messenger did just that, and you know what? They stopped the plot to take over the kingdom, and the king was saved, and the kingdom was saved. And everyone was so good and so glad. But you know what? Nobody even really knew that Mordecai had done that. But Mordecai did it because it was right to do, because he was serving his king. He was just being obedient. And Esther was just being herself. And then she became queen, and she was just being queen. And then along came a man who was kind of grumpy. And his name was Haman. Can you say Haman? And Haman didn't like anybody but himself. So Haman didn't like Mordecai. He, for whatever reason, Mordecai irritated him. And Mordecai was just a nice man. But Haman loved power. He wanted to be in charge. He wanted to have lots of money. He wanted the people to like him and to love him. Do you know anybody like that? They just like themselves. They don't like anybody else. They can be kind of mean, kind of grumpy. We don't like to be around them, do we? So Haman was trying to figure out how he could be honored by the king. But he was waiting for just the right time. Well, one night, the king couldn't sleep. He was worried about something. And he called his messenger to read him the books, the log books. In this kingdom, they wrote everything down. Whatever happened, they wrote it down. If somebody sold chickens, they wrote down they sold chickens. If somebody bought cows, they wrote down they bought cows. If somebody built a house, they wrote down they built a house. If somebody served the king, they wrote down they served the king. Well, in that book, the messenger had written that Mordecai had identified the people who were going to try to do bad things to the king. And the king was super excited. He said, "Wow, that's so great. Did we do anything nice for him? Is it written in the books?" And the messenger said, no. It just says that he told us that was going to happen and we were able to stop it from happening, but we never said thank you. So the king thought, what should we do? So the next day, he talked to Haman because Haman worked for the king. He said, "Haman, if I wanted to honor someone, what do you think I should do?" Well, Haman got super excited because he thought the king was going to honor him. So he said, "Well, I think that you should put your kingly robe on him. And you should put your crown on his head, like this one. And you should put him on a horse. And you should drive him through the city and tell everyone that he's great." The king said, "I love that idea. I want you to go find Mordecai and do that for him." For who? Well, for Mordecai, because he did me a great honor. Haman was not happy. He had to go get Mordecai, who he didn't like, and he had to put the king's robes on him, and he had to put the king's crown on his head. He had to put him on the king's horse, and he had to walk him through the city and make everyone praise Mordecai. Boy, did he get angry. But Mordecai just did his job, and Esther just did her job. And she liked not being noticed, and Mordecai liked not being noticed. And actually, he really didn't like all the attention. He just wanted to serve. Well, Haman was mad, and he devised a plot, and he wanted to somehow get rid of Mordecai or do something mean to him. So he thought, and he thought, and he thought, and he had an idea, a not nice idea. He got the king to sign a decree to get rid of all the people who were like Mordecai. And the king signed it. He wasn't paying attention, and Haman tricked him. Well, Mordecai found out about it, and he thought, we've got to do something, or all of our people are going to be hurt and cast out of the kingdom. So he sent a messenger to Esther. Again, Esther was just a young girl. She was just doing her thing. She was just being queen, hanging out. And Mordecai said, we've got a problem. And she said, what's the problem? He said, Haman is trying to get rid of all of us. And he said, it's going to affect you and all your people. And you need to do something about it. And she said, well, I can't do anything about it. I'm just Esther. I'm just the queen. I'm not in charge. Mordecai said, you have to go to the king. Well, there was a problem with that. If you went in front of the king without being invited, you could get your head chopped off. That's not fun. Esther said, I can't do it. If I do it, I could get hurt. And Mordecai said, you have to be strong because your nation needs you. Your nation needs your help. For such a time as this, God has placed you in a position to be helpful. Wow. So Esther was very wise, and she called together her friends and said, we have to pray. We have to pray really hard. And we have to ask God to have favor on me when I go before the king. Because if we don't, then our ability to help is all gone. So Esther got her friends together and they prayed and they asked God to help them. And so the next day, she went before the king. And when she walked in, everyone stopped because Esther didn't have an invitation. And here she was standing before the king. And they thought, what's going to happen to our new queen? And the king said, Esther, what would you ask of me? Up to half my kingdom. And he held out his scepter to her as a sign that she was safe. Nothing was going to happen to her. And then he said, you can have whatever you want, basically. That's pretty cool. And Esther said, I want you to come to my house for dinner. And I want you to bring Haman with you. Haman was super duper excited because now the king would know just how great he is. And so Esther fixed dinner for the king and Haman, and they came to dinner, and she sat down, and they sat down, and they ate the meal, and the king said, tell me, my queen, what are you going to ask of me? Up to half of my kingdom. And Esther said, come back for dinner tomorrow night. That was a weird request. If you could have anything you wanted, you're going to fix dinner again? What's Esther thinking? So the next night, the king and Haman came back to dinner. And when they were eating dinner, they had finished, and the king said, Esther, my queen, what would you ask of me? Up to half of my kingdom. And Esther dropped on her knees, and she said, I beg of you my life. And the king said, I would never do anything to hurt you. And she said, there you have signed a decree to kill me and all of my people. The king said, who has done this wickedness? And Esther pointed at Haman, and she said, he has tricked you. And if you go through with your plan, me and all of my people will be destroyed. Well, the king loved Esther so much, and he was so mad that Mordecai didn't get in trouble, Esther didn't get in trouble, but Haman got in big trouble. And the king punished him and his whole family. And Esther was saved, and Mordecai was saved, and all the people of her nation were saved because she was obedient and she served the people in their time of need. That's true loyalty. Esther was afraid. Esther didn't train for that. Esther didn't know how to do that, but she was wise because she asked God to help her. She asked God for strength. And when we ask God for strength, he'll help us. And he'll help us figure out what needs to be done. He'll give us the right desires, and he'll help us choose the right actions. And you know what? Mordecai was just doing his job. But he was looking out for those around him. So let's think about this. We're at home, and we're homeschooling, and things are different. So what can we do? We can look around and serve those around us who are in need. Now, what does that mean? We may not be able to go outside or go to somebody else's house, but just like we said last night, we can make sure we do our part and do our homework and pick up our clothes and pick up our toys, because when we do that, guess what? Nobody else has to. Isn't that amazing? If you pick up your toys and do your homework, your mom and dad are going to be so excited, so very excited, because they aren't going to have to or remind you, because nobody likes to be reminded, right? That's no fun. But we have to think about what's going on around us. We have to think, how can I help in this situation? Oh, I can put that away. Oh, I can do this. Oh, can I help you with that? Those are all good things that we can do to help those in need around us. So look around and see who you can be loyal to. Look around, see who you can help. And even though things are upside down and topsy-turvy, we can turn them right side up when we ask Jesus to help us to have eyes that see like him.